Hello and welcome to actually episode 97 of Lesbian Talk.
The real one this time.
Not a faux one, although the other one, is such a good fake that you could claim it was 97 anyway.
We rebooted the franchise at episode 97.
Yeah, this is number 1.
Yeah. No, it's episode 97.
Okay, Omega found something interesting to look at.
No, I had to fix that. Alright, go. You keep talking.
Basically, we're because
died.
of problems with Skype and recording stuff, we've been trying to organize. We've got like 3 talks we're meant to have with people, 2 patrons who are wonderful people, and possibly a talk with the director of Earthquake 10.0, now on Netflix. But because
It was on Netflix before. You say now on Netflix as though it wasn't like 2 weeks ago.
It's still awesome. And but because of that, we've been having trouble. We weren't able to record, and so we got behind, and
then my ceiling was leaking, and then
things exploded and it burned down. So we decided
nothing
this time.
It was just leaking.
So we decided to just watch both of the ones featuring Arya Stark back to back as a single episode of Lesbian Talk, rather than split it off and try to organize other shit.
It's an Arya Stark extravaganza.
Yeah.
Even though I've never seen any. No, I've seen 15 minutes of an episode of Game of Thrones, because I was making dinner and roommates were watching it.
Plus, living in Northern Ireland, you absorb Game of Thrones by osmosis.
Yeah, I really want one of those shaming bells that I can walk around behind people and be like, shame! Shame! I watched you change your child's diaper on the table at the food court. Shame! Shame!
You can swing with your finger.
Yep, shame, 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 shame.
Which is a thing in America, which I had to be explained to me like about 3 months ago.
Yeah. The shame, shame, shame gesture. Apparently it's not a thing over here.
Nope, it is not.
You know what else isn't a thing over here? Saying, if I had my druthers. Because I said that, in common parlance, and I was like, well, if I had my druthers, things and stuff. And, my supervisor looked at me, she goes, if you had your brothers? I was like, no, and they had to explain what it meant.
I think you explained this last week.
Okay.
Last episode.
But anyway.
Yeah, and then later on you said Cansarna and Dagnabbit.
Yeah, then okay, I already told that story.
But, okay,
We just watched Doctor Who.
Yes, we literally just watched The Girl Who Died. We're gonna do this, and then we're gonna watch The Woman Who Lived. So, we're not gonna talk about The Woman Who Lived in this one. So, you were discovering this with us.
You wanted to do it this way, and I said...
Yeah, Omega was like, no, let's just wait to the end of the
We
episode,
were
y'all.
in bed, and it's cold, and I kind of have to pee, but then I'm like, let's just record this part first.
Well, my feeling was that if we watch both of them...
Lesbian Talk in real time.
If we watch both of them, then we are more likely going to talk more about the second one, because it'll be newer in our memory. And then this one, where we can just talk about this episode as a whole, and then talk about that one separately.
I liked it. I thought it was good.
I was not.
You didn't think it was good?
And no. It was not as bad as I thought it was going to be, but it was very bad. And
It's not very bad.
the costuming was about on par with William Hartnell's The Time Meddler.
Maybe they didn't have a lot of money this part, for costuming.
Oh, so they could afford helmets with horns. It was somehow cheaper to get helmets with horns than with aren't. Where were they buying them? At a fancy dress shop?
Yes, they bought them at Halloween Adventure, although that's not a thing in the UK. Halloween Adventure is a shop in America for Halloween. Like all the wee Halloween places that are sprung up around Derry. That's Halloween Adventure.
And Odin, which was originally cast to be played by Brian Blessed, and then Brian Blessed dropped out because of illness, and he must have been really fucking ill, because Odin did fuck all. He stood there, said some lines, said some more lines.
Maybe, as written, Odin had more lines when the character was being played by Brian Blessed, but because he wasn't, they pruned it down.
Yeah, but he never did anything physical either. It wasn't a case of him swinging swords or anything. It's like Brian Blessed literally could have been. You know those things that you carry boxes in. Those sort of trays.
A dolly.
A bit like a dolly, yeah. The sort of thing just shift people around on diagonally. You could have stuck Brian Blessed on one of those, and he could have done his part.
I don't know. Maybe he had pneumonia.
So I think he must have been pretty damn sick.
Yeah, but anyway. So all right. So Brian Blessedness aside. No, I thought it was good. I liked there was a throwback to the Third Doctor line. I'll just reverse the polarity of the neutron flow. That sounded really good. They always believed it when I said it back in unit. Back when I was John Pertwee. Although, have you seen, I saw a picture online of Sean Pertwee dressed up as the Third Doctor, and he
Halloween
really...
last year he did it.
Really looks like his father.
And there's a picture that was doing the rounds which he actually sent, I believe he sent to his mother, which someone had photoshopped John Pertwee's hair onto Sean Pertwee in the costume,
Aww.
and his aged mother mistook it for his dad.
Aww.
And Sean Pertwee said he would be honoured to play the Third Doctor in an episode or something.
Or
which
like a
would be
Big
cool.
Finish. Oh, that would be so cool. Because, alright, I know it's not technically the same thing, but then you could have a multi-Doctor episode with Peter Capaldi and the Third Doctor.
I would be perfectly fine with that, because, okay.
Well, you know Stephen Moffat would never do it because it's not special enough.
People are going to find this weird, possibly. But I'm perfectly fine with recasting Doctors who are dead. Perfectly fine. You know, Hartnell being recast as Richard Hurdnell in The Five Doctors, perfectly fine. The fact that William Russell is playing the First Doctor in the audios, and Fraser Hines is playing the Second Doctor, perfectly fine. The only recasting that's done nowadays that I don't care for is Tim Treloar as the Third Doctor. Because everyone's like, he sounds just like John Pertwee. It's like, no, he doesn't.
And you have Sean Pertwee, like, right there. Like, he's even an actor and
Although,
everything.
to be fair, Sean Pertwee sounds nothing like his dad. Tim Treloar sounds more like his dad than he does, and Tim Treloar does not sound like John Pertwee.
But anyway.
But yeah, sure, Sean Pertwee, John Pertwee is sort of, he sounds like a weird cross between a really husky drag queen and an upper-class angry man.
Upper-class angry man.
It's a very distinctive voice that no one else
bird.
can do.
It's a plane. It's upper-class angry man. And so the other thing is like, look, it's bicycle repairman.
But no one
My
can
goodness,
do...
you're here, bicycle repairman.
But no one can do John Pertwee. I've never come across someone who can do a good John Pertwee.
There's probably someone on the internet that can.
Possibly.
There's someone on the internet who could do Freddie Mercury.
The other Doctors, they can be done in broad strokes. Like, Patrick Troughton is sort of... I'm a terrible mimic.
You are terrible. I mean, I love you.
But Patrick Troughton's sort of like impure and sort of nicer. His is an easier voice. Pertwee's voice is so unique, not just in the way he says things, but the actual sort of vocal quality of his voice. I'm not sure if he smoked a lot or what, but he did something to his voice to make it sound distinctive.
Maybe it was the war.
While Sean Pertwee just sounds like a working class Londoner.
Yeah, but he could.
I have those visions of John Pertwee and Sean Pertwee having this really, have these heart-to-heart conversations.
Well, look, he could play the part, and they could just do ADR with a voice actor.
Well, they could, but I have these visions of John Pertwee and Sean Pertwee talking like in the early '90s, and John's like, "Sean, I think it's wonderful you playing all these gangsters and playing tough parts in films, but when are you going to do musical theatre?
No, Dad, I won't.
You're a big disappointment to me and your mother."
No, Father, I'm not. I'm on the BBC. But, so, the episode that we actually saw. Now, I liked it, and although it did have a little bit more of the Doctor being so emo, and I came up with a theory about that. Like, how he, really didn't seem to give a shit. Like, the first Doctor was always threatening to kill his companions. Like, I'll just jettison you off into space. We can go away. How's that, Susan? But, I think that, over the incarnations, and I think it got worse in New Who, because the moment and everything, even though the moment's been undone. So I think that, now, because the Doctor has squillions of adventures that aren't part of Big Finish or the show. They just, they're part of his history. They've happened. So, he's responsible for a shit ton of death, a shit ton. And I think that, for some reason, that's, echoing back. And I like the whole, this is the reason I have this face. And I just looked over and you went, tch, meh. And then she's wearing a zipper hoodie, and she zipped up her hoodie all the way up to her nose in protest. That she had to look at David Tennant again.
No, I just think it's a really, really shit
And
thing.
this is the same person who right before this was like, oh, let me show you the trailer for Alias Jessica Jones. Look, David Tennant's in it. And I'm like, you hate him, though.
I don't hate David Tennant.
I'm going to tell him. I think
David
Tennant, my wife hates you.
I think the 10th Doctor is a piece of shit. I don't hate David Tennant. I just don't think he's particularly talented. He seems a nice guy. He's a big Doctor Who fan.
He was really good in Broadchurch.
Well, maybe he was. But I don't hate him.
He was so stressed out he had a heart attack. I mean, not David Tennant did. I mean, the character did.
But, it wasn't the issue of seeing David Tennant that bothered me. The fact was that they're trying to give an explanation for the Doctor's face. I had issue with this back in the Deep Breath. I don't want the Doctor to have some sort of subconscious, reason for his faces. It's fucking stupid.
You can blame David Tennant for it, because that's the 10th.
No, I can blame Stephen Moffat. It's his idea. He was like, we've got to explain because Peter Capaldi was in the 4th season of New Who, and it's like, Jesus Christ!
But wasn't Matt Smith an extra in The End of Time?
No.
Oh, I thought.
But no. John Nathan Turner never said, we've got to explain why the Sixth Doctor looks just like Commander Maxwell, who appeared much closer to the time of his regeneration than Peter Capaldi did in New Who.
Yeah, but it makes sense because the looms.
Yeah, with them, my explanation for them, which was, I think, truly beautiful and elegant, is that Time Lords have a set supply of, they have a set amount of Time Lord regenerations, which are physically possible with the regeneration sort of alteration technology, and so they just happen to meet. And they have the same template.
He's like, ooh, I like that face.
A bit like Battlestar Galactica, but there's like 10,000 million billion of them, or
Yeah.
whatever. But with this one, it's like, no, he deliberately chose, and it's like, you piece of shit.
But I like how, like, the whole conflict with the aliens and stuff like that and saving the humans seems to be basically just a premise to continue on to the next episode. And I'm like, oh, wow. I mean, okay, the person from long ago that somehow ends up immortal because of supernaturalness or technology or whatever. Okay, it's been done in fantasy and sci-fi. I'm not debating that it has been done. But what do I always say to you? It's not that it's been done.
Shut up, go away.
No, it's not that it's been done. It's all in how you do it. So I'm like, okay, I want to see where they take this.
They're taking this. They're doing the inverse of what they did with Davros. Davros, we see him as a child, we see what happened, and then this one, it's like we see a child, then we see them becoming someone more important later on, and possibly villainous. We will see.
Yeah, but like no, but I mean, this is not this is person from the long past who becomes immortal and then does things and stuff. That's a trope. That is a known trope. But I'm interested to see what they do with it because, like I said, it's all in when how you play it.
I get pissed off whenever they have, oh look, this thing that happens, and then the next episode in the Doctor's timeline, then it sort of is connected. It's
yeah, but he might. But the thing is, he says only time will tell. It usually does. He probably, had a way to like. He's probably like. The first thing I thought was he would be like, all right, let's go see if we can find her in 100 years or something.
Yeah, if
so he might be looking for her on purpose.
If he looks for her, fine. Otherwise, I really hope they didn't just have her in 2 episodes just randomly, that the Doctor happens to be back to back, because that really irritates me. The time-space machine, you should not have things building to other things for the main characters, unless the main characters, it's the focal point.
Maybe the TARDIS is doing it on purpose.
Well, that could be an explanation for it, but it's just one of my pet hates.
Of which you have many.
Well, yeah, and I've discussed them in Doctor Who. You know my 20 Who reviews.
Yeah.
Eventually, I want you to be able to put them together, and it's basically my thesis on Doctor Who and how it should be.
I like that the Doctor still speaks baby. I think
For
that's...
fuck's sake.
I don't know, I think that's kind of funny. No, I don't see so much as speaking baby. I see... Here, listen. She's like, mum... No, stop rocking and mumbling. No, I'm really being serious here. No, because here's the thing. I don't see so much as, like, the cries are actually translate into words and they are a language. Now, here's the thing that probably might shock a lot of people, if they're young, is the fact that we're no longer behavioralists like we were in the 1950s. Psychologists are. Literally every other month, it seems, we are finding out that little babies, I'm talking about children under 1 year of age, are a lot more complex than we ever gave them credit for. Basically, their brain is a spring-loaded machine that's custom designed like a Swiss watch on how to become a human. Like, babies as young as 1 or 2 months have violation of expectation, which is a thing, basically like, you show a ball rolling down a hill, and you show them the ball rolling down the hill a few times, they watch this happen. Okay, well, their eyes have to be able to focus for this. So then you cover up part of the ramp, so the big block. You see the ball rolling down the hill, so the ball disappears behind that block and then appears at the end of the hill. Okay, you do this a few times. Then this is where you have it set up. You have a Confederate that with their hand that no one can see the ball.
The Confederate being all like glorifying slavery.
Would you stop? I mean, a Confederate in the experiment. They roll the ball down the hill, but then, for example, a block rolls out the other side, or a teddy bear rolls out the other side. And then they have machines that, these are machines they use, on adults too, that can gauge where you're looking and for how long you're looking. And babies have violation of expectation. They're like, but what? That's not what I thought would happen. That's different. But this situation is different. Like, children can communicate, but they're not communicating in words. Like,
Well, I'm well aware of that.
Like, I'm sorry, because I'm in developmental psychology right now, and the stuff that we're learning is, and this stuff's even like 10, 20 years old, is fascinating.
I'm well aware of
So
like
the
such
idea
things
of the
as
doctor speaks baby is not so much that, as the doctor is interpreting.
I know that babies, whenever they learn to speak the language that is spoken around them, when they learn to speak vocally,
By 6 months,
they lose some other communication skills.
well, yeah, technically until about 6 months. Well, babies are automatically, their brains are automatically coded to give precedence to vocal sounds above non-vocal sounds. And they give before 6 months, they give equal attention, despite the language spoken. Between 6 and 7 months, that's when their native language locks in, and they pay primary attention to speakers in their native language over non-native speakers. Oh, it's really, really cool.
Yeah,
See, I have this theory, because we were talking about it in developmental psych, and, he told us this fact about how
I'm
babies
being
are...
bludgeoned with a stick called psychology.
Oh, we're learning. You're learning in lesbian talk. And so he was like, oh, well, babies are hardwired to prefer to hear, to hear out vocal sounds rather than non-vocal sounds. And I came up after class and said, Professor, what if you had a child whose brain gave equal attention? Do you think that they'd be more prone to auditory hallucination? And he's like, well, I don't know. That's a very good observation. I was like, someone should look into that. And then I went away.
See, whenever I asked teachers, things like that when involving science, I was always, treated like I was completely insane. Because I was like, we were learning about alleles and stuff, and I was like, hypothetically, I know such a thing could not be, but hypothetically, if it could be, what do you think a YY human being would look like? My feeling was more like a hairless gorilla.
I don't think that fetus would be viable.
Well, yeah, I obviously you have to use some crazy Frankenstein science to make it work.
It wouldn't get past cell division, honey.
Yeah, I'm saying you have to use sci-fi science to make it happen. That's what I'm saying. It
Oh,
wouldn't happen naturally.
In that case, oh Jesus Christ, I don't know.
It'd be like a steroid-induced version of the Fly.
No, but the thing is that there are so many vital genes on the X chromosome. That's why you always have at least one. Sometimes two. But like the Y chromosome really is quite small and it's devoid of a lot of genes. There's only a few actually that are hardwired.
So someone do a sci-fi story about this, YY, and the person goes crazy and starts murdering people.
Well, they wouldn't. Okay, but see, I think the thing is I'm in higher education, and my professors are paid to care because I'm paying an extraordinary amount of money.
Yeah, that was like secondary school.
But anyway, in the last few minutes that we have to talk about the girl.
This one basically it wasn't as bad as the trailer led me to believe, but it was basically the Army of Darkness with the Doctor and Arya Stark, who when she put that helmet on, she was Arya Stark, is Tony Stark. Yeah, those two basically being Bruce Campbell. And I'm like, meh. And the fucking mire, oh god. This is like continuing on from the Fisher.
They look like the Leech Man from X-Files.
It's no, we're talking about in the armor.
Oh.
You got the armor stuff, you got that. There's taking off after the Fisher King and being new who big monster alien things that
have a tremendous they're the most feared warrior race in the galaxy. Yeah, but the Daleks could exterminate you in one shot.
Yeah, these guys, if they should have at least clarified that they were like 8th or 9th, you know. But they look like shit.
Maybe it's like Predator, and that he's the one who's really crap at it.
Maybe.
And he had to go bully Earth because that's really low hanging fruit.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But the Mire, they look like shit, so like the Fisher King did. Both of these are ones that, knew who would have been all like, I don't know, it's not quite as bad as usual, but it's still not very good if they'd appeared. Like the Mire in particular, oh god, that is some 1st or 3rd Doctor shit right there.
Oh, I wish that there was more like New Who. Oh, or it's more like Old Who. Oh, it's too much like Old Who, and I hate it. Boo, boo, boo.
No, the special effects in Old Who was shit. That's why I'm comparing it negatively. See, I am fair.
That's what you're trying to. Who should be called? Boo hoo. That's what it should be. All right, somebody, you need to do some fan art of this. You just, if that inspires you, just do it. Just.
But yeah, the Mire looked like crap. The Fisher King looked more like a 5th or 6th Doctor.
Crab vagina.
Doctor Alien.
But I kind of got the feeling that there wasn't a lot of seriousness to the base under siege by monsters kind of village of humans under siege by thing, because kind of it was a setup for this wonderful sci-fi concept that they want to use.
Not really wonderful. It's
Okay,
immortality.
wonderful in quotes. Like, oh, yeah, I found this wonderful sci-fi trope we're gonna use. And like I said, I'm interested to see where it goes. But, it was touted that Maisie Williams would be playing someone, quote unquote, for the Doctor's past, and I thought it would be the Ronnie, and I'm sad now. Ronnie be creeping, yo.
The Doctor apparently...
Where's
okay,
my Ronnie?
question.
Where's my Ronnie?
Why are the Meyer helmets able to make people immortal, and why have the Meyer not used this to conquer the universe? And if the Doctor can take this little piece of crappy technology from a third-rate Sontaran ripoff and turn it into an immortality giver thing, why the fuck haven't other people worked this out and done it? People who are more advanced than them? You know...
Maybe it stops working eventually if on any other thing, but humans are so biologically complex compared to every other nation or race in the galaxy that...
Pretty sure biological complexity isn't really a term in science. Maybe.
Yeah, but there's gotta be like some...
There's gotta be... Oh, there's some
Science.
reason. The reason is
Because
it's
Peter
fucking stupid
No,
and they wanted it.
Because Stephen Moffat said so.
Because they wanted it. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, the Doctor could take one of those things, stick it in himself, and not have to regenerate.
Yeah, but that probably like would fight against the Rassilon Imperator. There's probably some reason why he can't. Well, he wouldn't want to, remember, because he's always going on about how everyone is mortal and I will die eventually. Just saying.
Someone came up with the idea that because Maisie Williams is going to be the hybrid because this series they're working towards this ancient.
Yeah, but that was that was the thing between a Time Lord and a Dalek, not a human and a.
Oh no! That what they said was that it was going to be a hybrid between two great warrior races, and the Master was surmising it might be Dalek hybrid, Dalek Time Lord, because that's what the Doctor
he
created.
Said you ran away from Gallifrey because of your role in this, which technically would have happened at or pre-First Doctor.
That was something that the Master suggested. We don't know if it's true. When this one, the Doctor, whenever he says,
well, then how would the Master know about it if it hadn't?
She's going to be a little bit of alien. Or a high, and then he was like, "Oh no!" So it was like every couple of episodes they're going to introduce a new type of hybrid thing. So then at the last minute, Stephen Moffat can go, "It was none of them," and it's like
I forgot about that part. I thought he said a hybrid like that because he was thinking, "Oh shit, what if she goes off and propagates?"
No, it's because this is the arc. New Who does not understand how a dramatic arc works, and why dramatic arcs should not be attempted in fucking Doctor Who unless it's directly about the crew and what they're doing.
Wasn't like most of the Seventh Doctor stuff a build up to the whole thing with Ace at the end?
With Fenric?
Yeah.
Not really. It was just basically Fenric. The story happened, and there was like, by the way, these things that happened earlier on that were not actually connected. They were totally connected in retrospect. We just decided that before writing this episode. Ha ha ha!
Well, alright, so I want to go use the bathroom, and then I think that we should watch the second part.
Okay.
So you could be like, see how right I was, everything sucks and I'm the best.
Oh,
On the next episode of Boo Hoo Hoo.
Someone has suggested that Maisie Williams might become the Nightmare Child, who was a monster thing that fought in the Time War, which I would find really weird because Davros's command ship was eaten by the Nightmare Child, and seeing Maisie
Well, maybe
Williams...
it's like that, like, maybe the 2001 The Space Odyssey where you, like, go back and become a monster fetus.
I still kind of want to see Maisie Williams eat a spaceship.
Monster fetus.
And her nickname as a highwaywoman in the thing is the Nightmare. Oh, fucking...
I think it's going to be sexy because even though she's, like 16?
I think she's older than that.
Okay. Why do I think she was a kid? Someone probably said on Twitter.
Well, her character is meant to be younger because she was the right age when the show began. But
well, she's not. She's under 21 though, because remember she couldn't drink at the Emmys or something.
Yeah, well then
Yeah.
I reckon
But
she's at least 20.
I have a real weakness for the whole 17th century woman has to be a highwayman because of reasons, but I think that looks just so fucking sexy. Just saying.
Okay.
No, because I've read a lot of books. Like, one by Cynthia Voigt was called Jackaroo, but, I love that trope that, we finally caught the notorious highwayman off with his tricorner hat and his mask. It's a woman! And she's like, yes, I was. I'm like, and girl, you look damn good in that highwayman outfit.
Yeah, but it's like, you're clearly...
I think
you're Maisie Williams, who's 5'1", and...
I'm 5'1". I could look sexy.
Yes, but honey...
Are you saying I wouldn't be a sexy... I would be a sexy highwayman.
Honey, in the 17th century, I don't think
most men were 5'1".
You may well not pass it as a highwayman, until, and shock everyone when the tricorner hat is taken off.
Yeah, but see, the thing is that, I wouldn't be fat because they hadn't invented processed food yet, so...
And Maisie Williams has a similar issue. No one's going to believe she's a highwayman.
I didn't say it was a good trope. I said I just think that kind of like strand of cross-dressing is sexy.
Well, that's fine.
But then I like don't want to like think that about someone who may potentially be a child actor.
No, she's
Because
not
then
a child
that's like,
actor.
statutory by thought. But we're gonna go, so we'll see you later. Like, instantly for the internet.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, and we're back.
Yeah. Maybe there was something we put in there editing-wise to break it up, or maybe we just
No,
went...
we didn't.
Yeah.
We just went like this, and we're back.
Imaginary song or advert break in the middle.
See,
and...
we violated our thing. I didn't say, so honey, what did we watch this week? So I could do the lead into Doctor.
Well, you can say it now.
What did we watch 5 minutes ago?
Many things.
Oh, Jesus.
I've been watching season 2 of The Strain while editing Merlin the Return.
I've been doing schoolwork.
You win.
Yeah. I win! But no, we just finished watching The Woman Who Lived.
Yep.
It did work out well. I liked the twist that they put on it at the end. I thought her, like, gallows conversion was a wee bit trite and contrived.
Yep.
Like, coming for everything for her character, it should have been, no, my only chance, you deceived me, I've been betrayed, this was my only chance. Not that, like, Doctor, I do care, and have, like, a Care Bear moment.
Yeah, it should have been more righteously
Selfish
angry
at being betrayed.
Yeah, which was just ridiculous. I mean, you got two-parters. What I got the feeling what they had was the second part idea, bringing him immortal, and the Doctor had caused immortality, and they were like, well, okay, we can't just have this happen. We have to make the first half how it happened, and it meant that the second half, which really should have been 2 parts, is stuck as 1 part. And apart from that, it's fucking unbalanced as all hell. The second half here, you've got... It's like a Bollywood film.
I liked the other alien, though. The, like, big, huge lion man who breathes fire.
You should have just made him one of the guys from Warrior's Gate. They travel interdimensionally. Interdimensionally. But it's like a Bollywood film in the sense that you've got all this light, frothy, ridiculous, bantery comedy. At the same time, you've got these weighty issues all going on at the same time.
It was kind of like they literally modeled part of this after the Monty Python sketch Dennis Moore. Like, there was a part where, like, the doctor's like riding, hard on the horse to get to Tyburn in time, and I was like, Doctor Who, riding through the night.
Yep.
Desperately trying to avoid a fight. He steals from the dark.
The only 2 things...
If you don't know it, Google Monty Python Dennis Moore, it'll come up.
They're missing 2 things that would make this perfectly a Bollywood thing. One is 3-hour length, and another one is songs. Tone-wise, though, it's all over the place, just like Bollywood does its things.
Yeah, Bollywood is all over the place.
It's like, let's have weighty issues and depressing stuff about the nature of immortality.
That
and
was cracker. That was
human
great.
memory and stuff. And let's have lots of silly comedy at the same fucking time. It's like, oh god damn it.
This episode could have been a lot more dark.
It should have been.
But yeah, I did like the thing of like, he's like, oh, how have you been doing? Well, everything's shit now, and I've become a horrible person, and it's all your fault. So, take me with you. No. And I like that. I like that, for one, something that he did just really, really, really fucked up.
Knew who did that as far back as the first season.
Well, this also now opens her up to be a reoccurring person anytime Unit's there, because she's probably
until she gets too old.
Yeah, okay, yes, but I meant, like, in the next few years, not in the next few decades.
Yeah, it's the sort of part that it's not a infinitely recurring part.
Right. But, yeah, so she could turn up next season working with Unit. Because, of course, and it's too bad Torchwood's on, because she'd been in touch with Torchwood.
They're doing Torchwood on Big Finish, so theoretically, I suppose she could turn up there. Yeah. I wouldn't mind seeing Maisie Williams turn up as this mysterious woman who knows who the Doctor is, like on Big Finish, with, like, Sves McCoy or whatever.
I say, Sves McCoy said, don't worry, old man, you will say. Even though she's young, I gotta say, that whole, like, woman is actually the highwayman. Oh, it's real sexy.
The fact that
I dress like a highwayman for you.
None of the other highwaymen realized... At the start, when she was using the voice modulator, or whatever it was...
No, she just trained her voice. She said a lot of practice. It didn't look like any ton of technology.
Yeah, that's bullshit.
What are you saying? It's bullshit.
Yeah.
I'm a man.
Yeah, that's bullshit. But she didn't put on that voice. However she did it, whenever she was talking to Sam Swift and stuff. And it's like, without the voice...
Because she had contempt for him. She didn't care. But see, the thing is, like, she, like, of course, like, you know, like, slight, she didn't care, like, if they figured it out, because she had contempt for them as mere humans. The doctor one was the one who kept calling her him and kept trying to keep up the illusion, but she just didn't give a fuck. I think that's why she didn't use the voice. She's like, puh, humans. That's why she's like, should I kill him? He'll be dead, like, a second anyway, because that's how she perceives time. She's like, no. But she just didn't care. She's like, yep, whatevs.
The fact that... No, I'm more irritated at the fact that those guys didn't work it out. You know, she...
They always thought she was just a wee boy.
With the dubbed-on voice,
Mm-hmm.
you could probably get away with it if you fucking squint, because of, you know, it's a TV show, you know, suspension of disbelief. But without it, no fucking way!
Well, maybe it was a macho thing. They just couldn't admit to themselves. Like, the idea surfaced. Oh, maybe the nightmare's a girl. No, can't be bested by a girl. No, macho. If you're macho, write the show. But yeah, so...
She's not Linda Hunt. See, that's an important thing to say. Linda Hunt, I believe, won an Oscar for playing a male character in a film once.
Oh, cool. But yeah,
no, not like a trans man. She literally was cast as a male role and played the part as a man.
What's her face? Kate Winslet played... Was it Kate Winslet who played Bob Dylan? In that really weird experimental film with like 5 different people?
What do you call her? The Australian one who played Elizabeth. I forget her name.
Yeah.
Galadriel.
Yeah. But like, yeah, then that one where like a whole bunch of different people played Bob Dylan.
Mm-hmm.
Bob Dylan's weird.
So it was a normal film in every other way, but they decided, we got this...
Let's just cast 5 different people as Bob Dylan. Sure, it'll be grand.
This other one, I believe it's like a crime film, and they're like, let's cast Linda Hunt as this Chinese man. And they did, and she won an Oscar. Or she was nominated, I can't remember. I am fucking exhausted.
But yeah, I mean, it wasn't as bad as you thought it was going to be. And I did like some of the things that they explored, the things that happen to you, immortality. I liked how she actually said, I've had several, 100 lifetimes, but a normal memory. I'm like, yeah, synaptic pruning. That's a real thing that happens. Your brain just cuts synapses and connections that aren't being used to, grow other ones. I think that was cool. Synaptic pruning, psychology in action. Focus on the brain. That's not a real show. I was just making up the intro to a show. Look around you. Look around you. But yeah, so I didn't think that it was as bad as you said it was going to be.
Well, I don't make pronouncements and about its quality and saying that that's definitely the case. I make comments based on the trailer and what it looks like.
And they had the fucking Lion Man more in the trailer. He was fucking awesome. He breathed fire.
You mean Ron Perlman from Beauty and the Beast?
I don't care. He looked pretty cool.
Like, hey,
he's like, I'm a big lion and I breathe fire. Put this on your heraldry, England. That's the noise of him breathing fire.
He was one of the fucking race, and I can't remember the name, from Warrior's Gate, and yet, I'm guessing this is another case of New Who inventing a suspiciously similar alien, so they don't have to pay money to the person who created the original ones.
Did they breathe fire?
No, but they moved interdimensionally.
Oh, honey, what race doesn't move interdimensionally? I mean, really.
Well, they didn't do any spaceships.
No, because the doctor said, look, spaceships, once they materialize through the rift.
Yeah, they didn't need spaceships.
Quick, Inquisitor, close the rift. Use your mark.
They didn't need spaceships. And in the Warrior's Gate, before they became all like subjugated and stuff, the lion race, they were sort of conquerors and evil and stuff. So they could have put it in easily.
Maybe that was a split off. Like, they were the ones who didn't get conquered, they went to another planet and had their lives.
It's like the Minotaur in the God Complex. New Who has a tendency to reinvent classic races. As long as these races don't have the name value,
yeah, that's true.
They just recreate them and really fucking obviously recreate them, and they just don't use the name, and it's really infuriating.
Yeah. But they were really cool. Lions that breathe fire.
I don't know why no one was all like, holy shit, look at that lion man.
No, because he had his cloak up. Well, because, you know how he was like, we're going to hang him now, and people were like, oh yeah, it's like, maybe he has some kind of weak telekinetic or weak telepathic kind of thing.
That would be the only explanation, because, putting a hood up doesn't hide the fact that you're a lion man.
That's
From personal experience there.
That's one of them. You're not a lion man that breathes fire.
He actually looked like the English gargoyle from Gargoyles. You know, the
I
lion
was
one.
thinking that! Yes!
Yeah, I remember years ago we were discussing how a Gargoyles feature film should be made, and I was like, do makeup.
Yes.
That's the sort of makeup for the lion version, but
I fear that fate has it out for you tonight, my friend.
yeah.
But that was the griffin.
See, that was good looking. I don't know why they were a lion.
Because that means England.
And it was a good makeup, better than the last two ones. Fucking makeup. Oh God.
Although the plague doctor mask was inconsistent.
Yeah, that's
because that wasn't from the Black
1300s.
Death. That was from that one in like the 1500s. Because remember we went to Mary King's Close, and
I thought that was from the later one.
It was, but it wasn't from. It wasn't
from the 1300s.
No, it wasn't. It was from one of the later ones,
So
and that was Italian.
Possibly. Oh, okay. Here I'm gonna be all
I'm
like
not Italian, so that was
I'm gonna take the role of the person who thinks that New Who can do nothing wrong.
I never said.
Here I'm being serious. I'm being serious.
She's zipping up her hoodie and.
Okay, well, the doctor obviously knew that, and he picked it up and was like, "Oh, the 1300s one," knowing that. What do you call her? Would live through both of those things, and so he would just carefully put into the conversation that it was from the 1300s, even though it was not from the 1300s, and notice her reaction.
Yeah, that is
to test how her memory was.
That is a potential one. He's like, oh.
Yeah. See, every so often you make peace with Doctor Who, and it just confuses New Who. I don't know what to take to you. What?
No, well, like the doctor.
Random act of kindness, New Who.
The doctor's clever. I mean, he'll think of these things. I had an IQ of 1 billion, but like. Yeah, I recognize the guy that played the servant, but I can't think where I know him from. He's just like one of those generic English character actors, but I can't think of what I've. No, I'm serious. You know how like we'll be watching, like, hey, it's that guy, and you're like, oh, you mean Dustin Hoffman? Yeah, that famous guy. I always do that, like it's that guy, because I can't remember anyone's name anywhere. But like I'll also say that when it's a character actor.
Yeah, and I'm expected to have an archive of like IMDb
because
type thing in my brain.
You're the person who's closest to IMDb in my life, because it's only because.
Actually, you're closer to IMDb right now because you've got a phone with the internet right beside you.
No, that doesn't count. I meant like innate IMDb. Like maybe you and Brad should have like an IMDb off.
Brad would win. Although I suppose it depends on the genre.
No, that would be a great thing to do for charity. Like at a convention that you guys are both at, like have a panel and people can submit questions. They have to pay money to submit questions, and all the proceeds would go to charity to try to stump you guys. Well, and like if they manage to stump you, they get like a wee prize or something.
Well, neither of us are geniuses. We just have severe interest in various areas. So.
You don't have to be a genius. You have to know a lot of things.
Yeah, but they could be like, here, Brad, I want to know this question about 1960s children's British television. And he'd be completely stumped automatically.
And if he doesn't know, then they get it like a bag of sweets from.
Yeah, but it seems.
The point is that you be raising money for charity.
Yeah, that's good. Everyone can submit a question, but then people choose them at random or something.
Yeah, like there'd be an MC. So if anyone's listening, I'll mention this in the channel Awesome Chat later. Hey guys, I thought of a great idea of a panel that someone can use at a con to raise money for their charity.
Okay, how about this then? You do that with the questions. And you have the panel of, film experts, not just me and Brad, like, get as many people as you can, and then we all have a chance to answer it. If no one can get it, then you get the prize.
Yeah. That'd be like, hey, we should pitch that for Con Bravo.
The bubbles are going crazy on a computer screen.
My screensaver just went spastic, hold on.
That's a bad word to say in this country.
I mean the clinical definition, not the schoolyard definition. But yeah, so we should talk to Con Bravo about that.
Well, you can if you want.
That would be a good panel for you. But yeah, so above and beyond that, no, I thought it was a good episode. Like I said, I was really interested to see what they would do with it, and they impressed me.
I squeed at the mention of the pterodactyls because they started the Fire of London, but Peter Davison monster gets mentioned, but no Colin Baker ever gets mentioned.
I know. They should just have him on as a guest star, just because.
When it comes to New Who, it's basically. You got the New Who Doctors, although they tend to ignore Christopher Eccleston.
Yeah.
Or it's Tom Baker. The odd time it's William Hartnell just because he was the first, but that's it. It's like Pertwee, Troughton, Davison occasionally, Colin Baker, Pertwee, Troughton, Peter Davison, and Sylvester McCoy might as well not exist.
They need to run into Perry. Nicola Bryant's still alive. She'd do it in a heartbeat.
No, she should be dead.
Well, but she could be at that point.
Not Nicola Bryant. No, The natural end for her in Mind Warp was being taken over by Kif and then getting shot.
Yeah, but we don't know because he didn't see it happen on screen. So therefore, the Doctor could go and find her at that point in time stream.
Yeah, it could. There's like 3 or 4 different versions of what happened to her, including one where she's dead and other ones. But I do not want to see her again because, as far as I'm concerned, it's a much better ending that she is. It's either left open that she can be dead, or it's confirmed that she's dead.
Oh, I like Perry.
I love Perry. Perry is my second favorite Doctor.
She's a pretend American. Your second favorite Doctor?
Second favorite companion. See how much I love her? She's my second favorite Doctor.
She's really good in the Big Finish ones.
See, Perry is awesome. That's why I want her power. Her ending was really powerful. And I want it to stay like that.
I'm just saying. Jo Gramps was really powerful. She's like, Doctor, I'm gonna go off and marry this guy because I love him. Okay. Okay, Jo.
No, her leaving. It was only 6 episodes, so it wasn't really.
Yeah.
But because of the love story didn't quite work. But the way that it was done with the Doctor
classy.
and the subtext, that worked.
Yeah, it's classy. Because John Pertwee was classy.
You know, not many companions get really dramatically good endings.
Except for Adric. They had to bring him back over and over again in different media just to kill him again.
Now I'll never know if I was right. Boom!
That's what you get, little cocksucker. I mean, I'm not saying he's gay, I'm just saying he's a cocksucker.
The guy who plays him is.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, he might have been a cocksucker then. I don't think at that age, though. Apparently, though, he was, like, a really nice guy. Like, to work with. Like, the actor, apparently.
Well, I've
Isn't
heard
that the
conflicting things.
Oh.
Tom Baker, it was his first job, and people felt like he was like, trying to give notes to other actors. You know, you should try this, and you know, Tom Baker especially didn't care for it. But you know, that's some actors work like that. John Pertwee did.
Yeah. Well, I mean, didn't he, like, go off and have a relatively normal life, the guy who played Adric?
I think he does theatre acting mostly. He lives in America.
America. And then he was like, well, who told you all those things about me? And I was like, please let it be the Master, please let it be the Master, please let it be the Master.
I was hoping whenever she mentioned all these people told, you know, who told you about me.
Wouldn't it be great if, like, then you see someone, like, peering around the tavern door, and it's somebody supposed to, you know, made up to look like Roger Delgado or something like that? Oh, that would be so great.
I wouldn't have gone for that. What I would have gone for...
I was the Master.
I
was skulking the entire episode.
The Doctor's like, who told you about me, gave you all this information, and then we could have had shots of old episodes of Who with her digitally added in, like the name of the Doctor.
They'll fucking do it for Clara.
Because, you know, you had, stories where it could have been in. Well, there's a fuckload of them, and one of the jumps out to me is probably, Mark Thorani's a bit too late.
Besides, that's, that happened like a few hundred years after that.
Yeah.
Because it's like 1640 something. I like that. Here, I have a pardon from Cromwell himself. I said, God damn it, Cromwell.
The Mask of Mandragora.
It's always Oliver Cromwell.
You could have had Mandragora there.
Yeah.
There's one just off the top of my head.
But I just like the idea that she's like, I'll be putting the pieces back together. So you know she probably found that guy who washed out from being a companion with Rose. Remember the guy who you cheated?
Oh, Adam?
Yeah.
Oh, the Time Meddler. That's another one.
So she probably knows about Donna.
Well, I don't know. But there's many stories where she could have been...
And she looks after Rose's mom.
Oh god, I hope not. Rose's mom is an alternate reality.
Well, I thought she came back.
Nope.
Why did I think that?
Because Rose did.
Oh.
And then she went back.
Well, she looks after the people that, you know... And she probably protects them, too, because remember how I said... You know, what's the best... If you have limited time travel capabilities, at least some, what's the best way to go after the Doctor? By following the wrens he leaves in time, in the time tapestry, via his companions, the people he interacts with.
Very metaphysical.
Interact with the Doctor once, you know, who's to say 10 years later, you know, Daleks don't turn up on your front porch.
If you've got very basic time technology, how could you track the wrens? Surely you'd need...
No, better. Like, you'd have, it would be, like, you couldn't just go wherever you wanted to. You'd have to, like, plug in a it would be something where, like, you could track a signal, you could do some kind of sensors, and then you could move to that place, and move to the next place, and move to the next place. It wouldn't be, like, unlimited. And it would take, I don't know, I haven't written an episode about it, I'm just theorizing here.
She's looking at me with such daggers.
I'm not looking at you with daggers, but like
Wants to kill
you're
me.
the one that's like, oh, because Stephen Moffat wrote it that way. Boo, 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 boo. But then if I'm like, well, because
Even Moffat
maybe
didn't write this.
no, but like what I'm saying is like that's your thing when I'm like, maybe it's the character. Yes, but Stephen Moffat wrote the character that way. Ah ha ha ha. And
Yes,
then when I'm
and
like,
it is the
this
Thermian defense otherwise.
this theoretical like enemy of the Doctors that like just existed from a second ago when I thought of it, you know, you can't just be like, you know. I'm just saying.
We're both sort of degenerating into...
If you're a theoretical enemy of the Doctor Wright show. No, but like I thought it looked good, you know it is. And now I'm trying to think what the trailer was for next week.
It's with the Zygons,
Oh.
and you're all like, I thought Osgood wasn't dead, and I was like, honey, the last time you saw Osgood before she died, she was hanging around with a bunch of Zygons who can take people's shape. And the episode that she's in now, you get a bunch of Zygons who can take people's shapes.
So either a Zygon her died or the real one died. This one's a Zygon.
Yeah.
But actually, I read an interview with the girl who plays her, and she's super, super chuffed to be back for the episode. She did Doctor Who, so that's good because apparently she's a huge fan. This is what I read in Doctor Who magazine.
Based on that trailer, it looks like it's going to be like a Doctor Who version of District 9.
With Unit. Oh, we love Unit. They're just our friends.
Except when they're torturing people.
Yeah, well, there's that. I meant like the old-timey Unit, where like people just kind of... soldiers kind of stood around ineffectively while John Pertwee solved everything. But yeah, so I mean, it'll probably be good. I mean, I'm just saying. So we've got like a shit ton of people we have to have on the show, and they're gonna have a riot.
Yeah, we're gonna have Josh, we're gonna have George, and hopefully we're gonna have the director of Earthquake 10.0. And I can be all like, I'll be like, what is it like to have directed such a masterpiece of modern cinema?
Oh my God, this man is gonna kill us from. Where's he from?
Probably America.
He's gonna kill us from America. But yeah, so that's the crack with that.
Earthquake 10.0 is my favorite B movie I've seen since Vikingdom. And you have to watch it.
I'll watch it. I'll watch it before we have the guy on. But here's the thing, though. We should do something special for our 100th episode, though. We should do something really special.
We should, but we probably won't.
Well, no, we should because it's like a thing. We'll brainstorm later off the microphone. But yeah, so that's been us. Stop doing that to my hair.
I'm storming your brain.
No. I have been the Omega Geek, and honey, who do you want to have been this week?
Arya Stark.
Oh, don't fall on me. She just fell on me. Alright, that's the end of this.